Hello folks, my name is Adriano Sella. I'm a software engineer at Border0. In this short but sweet demo, we'll be going over the process of integrating a custom identity provider with your Border0 organization. We'll start off by navigating to the Border0 portal, organization settings, identity providers, and you'll see that I already have 4 enabled identity providers. 2 of them are the global or default identity providers, Google and GitHub, but 2 of them are custom identity providers I added prior to this demo. One of them of type Okta Workforce and one of them of type Google Workspace. In this demo, we'll be adding an additional identity provider, this time of type OpenID Connect. The first thing you will want to do is identify what parameters are required to configure the integration. You may click on the panes on the right side of the page for a short description of what each parameter means. I also recommend you at least skim over the official Border0 documentation to ensure that you don't miss any important steps. Alright, now we can get into the nitty-gritty. Now prior to this demo, I created an account with Auth0, a drop-in solution for authentication and authorization, and we'll be using that as our custom identity provider for the purpose of this demo. My new Auth0 account comes out of the box with a default application called Default App, and after reading the documentation, I've determined that it can behave as an OpenID Connect provider, which means it can be integrated as a custom identity provider for Border0. All we need to do is find all of the parameters required in the Border0 portal in the settings for the application. Now we may proceed to start populating the new identity provider form with parameters from this page. So we'll need a name for the application. Let's say demo IDP, a display name. Let's call it mycorpauth. Optionally, we can provide a logo URL. We'll leave it empty for now. And then we need some OpenID specific parameters, which we will find in the Auth0 application details. So we need a discovery URL, a client ID, and a client secret. Here we have the client ID and client secret. We'll copy those right away. And for the discovery URL, we do have to dig a little bit deeper. Advanced settings, endpoints. And here it is, OpenID configuration. And we're ready to click submit. You will note that our new identity provider starts off as disabled by default. We are very close to completing our new identity provider integration, but there is a very important step in the official Border0 documentation that we must not miss before enabling the identity provider. Most OpenID Connect identity providers will require you to be explicit about where your users can be redirected to after successfully authenticating. In other words, we need to tell our identity provider that it is okay to redirect users to Border0. In order to do this with our demo Auth0 application, we add Border0's callback URL to the Auth0 application setting field for allowed callback URLs. Once we have done this, we can proceed to enabling the newly added custom identity provider in the Border0 portal. Immediately after enabling the new provider, your Border0 organization's users will have the option to authenticate against it. Let's go ahead and try to view an HTTP socket in the organization, and we will authenticate as a user using the newly added identity provider. And there you have it, folks. We added a new custom identity provider to our Border0 organization, and we've now authenticated as a user using that provider. If instead of adding an additional identity provider option, you would like to enforce your users to authenticate with only the new provider, you can do so by disabling all other providers in your organization. Then going forward, your users will not be prompted with which identity provider they would like to authenticate against. Instead, they will be taken to authenticate directly against the only enabled identity provider. Thanks for watching, folks. It has been my pleasure demonstrating Border0's new capabilities to you today. See you next time.